Hello guys, how's it going? Lucas over here for another story. Um, because we started 2021, I decided to make Pinocchio. It's one of my favorite stories. So here we go. Hola chicos, ¿cómo están? Bueno, Lucas por acá. Debido al comienzo del 2021, del nuevo año nuevo, pensaba que podemos hacer la historia de Pinocho. Así que bueno, vamos allá. Pinocchio, Carlo Coletis, italiano, de Lombardía, Italia. Here we go. Once upon a time, there lived a poor and lonely woodcutter named Geppetto. One day, Geppetto found a fine log of wood, and he decided to make a puppet to keep him company. He carved a little boy out of the wood, and he called him Pinocchio. Geppetto loved Pinocchio as much as if he were a real child. He wanted to send Pinocchio to school and bring him properly, but Pinocchio started out as a naughty little puppet. The first thing he did, as soon as he learned how to walk on his wooden legs, was to run away. Geppetto set out to look for Pinocchio, but he could not find him. Meanwhile, a policeman caught Pinocchio by his nose, but he wriggled away and ran back home. There was no one at home because Geppetto was still out looking for him. Suddenly a voice cried, "Cri, cri, cri!" "Who said that?" asked Pinocchio in a frightened voice. "I did," said the talking cricket, crawling slowly up the wall. "Shame on boys who run away from home. You should go to school, or you will grow up to be a donkey." "Go away," shouted Pinocchio. The cricket stepped through the window and was gone. Pinocchio was hungry, for he had not eaten anything all day. He went about the room, pulling out drawers, looking for something to eat. He saw something in a corner and picked it up. It was an egg. "Now I shall have something to eat," he said. But when he broke the eggshell, a little chicken popped out. "Thank you, Master Pinocchio," it said politely. "You have saved me from the trouble of breaking my shell. Goodbye." And the chicken flew away. Pinocchio began to cry. "Oh dear," he said, "if only I had been good and not run away, my dear papa would be here now, with something for me to eat." He sat down in front of his fireplace and stretched out his legs to warm them. He fell fast asleep, and when he woke up, his wooden feet were burned off. Oh, how Pinocchio cried! Just when Geppetto came back, he was overjoyed to see his little boy again and kiss him. "I can make you new feet," he said, "but then you will run away again." "No, I won't," Pinocchio promised. "I'll be a good, I'll be good and go to school." So Geppetto took his tools and made two nice new feet for Pinocchio. Then he made some clothes for him. But there was no money for school book for Pinocchio, so Geppetto went out and sold his overcoat to buy a school book. Pinocchio kissed his dear father and started off to school. He really meant to be good, but alas, on the way to school, Pinocchio passed a big tent. There was a puppet show going on inside. Pinocchio sold his school book to a peddler for a ticket to the show, and in he went. A show might call Fire Eater saw Pinocchio. He said, "Bring that puppet here. He is made of fine dry wood, and will make a good blaze for my roast." The cook brought Pinocchio, who was wriggling and screaming. When Fire Eater saw Pinocchio cry, he felt sorry for him. Pinocchio told him all his troubles and how poor Geppetto had sold his overcoat to buy him a school book. My eater said, "Here are 5 gold pieces. Buy your father a new overcoat and yourself a new school book." Pinocchio started down the road towards home. He jingled the 5 gold pieces in his pocket, but alas, he met with some bad companions on the way. He stopped to talk to 2 beggars, a fox and a cat. "Look, I'm rich," said Pinocchio, pulling the 5 gold pieces out of his pocket. The fox and the cat opened his eyes wide. It was past midnight when Pinocchio left the inn. As he walked along the dark road, he heard the sound of running feet behind him. In the midnight, Pinocchio saw 2 creatures dressed in black running after him. They wore black sacks which covered them all. Only their eyes gleamed through the holes cut in the sacks. They were the fox and the cat in the sky. "Give us your money," said this. But Pinocchio ran and ran. He jumped across a little brook. The fox and the cat could not jump because they were tied up in the sacks. So they landed splash right in the middle of the brook. Soon it was the morning. As Pinocchio ran through the woods, he saw a little white house. A lovely fairy with gold hair was sitting in the window. She let him in and asked, "What seems to be the problem?" Pinocchio told the fairy about everything he had had since he had left home to go to school. "Where are the rest of the gold coins?" she asked. Pinocchio had the gold coins in his pocket, but he lied to the fairy. I lost them," he said. As soon as he said this, his nose began to grow larger. "Where did you lose the gold coins?" asked the fairy. "In the forest," lied Pinocchio. At his second lie, his nose grew even larger. "Then we will go find them," said the fairy. "No," said the Pinocchio quickly. I swallowed them." At the third lie, his nose grew so long that it reached clear across the room and out of the window. Pinocchio could not go through the door with it. The fairy wondered why Pinocchio tried to move his way, and that with his long nose. Then, when she felt that he had been punished enough for telling lies, she called to a flock of woodpeckers. The birds came in, they perched on his nose and began peck, peck, peck. At last Pinocchio's nose was down to the right size. "Now," said the fairy, "if you promise to be a good boy all the time, you may have one wish." "I wish to be a real boy," cried Pinocchio. "You will have your wish presently," said the fairy. "What a good fairy you are," said Pinocchio. "Now I must go home to my father." The pedal. "Go and be a good boy and never lie again. Each time you lie, your nose will grow larger," said the fairy as she kissed him goodbye. Pinocchio ran home to Geppetto, who was overjoyed to see him. When Pinocchio awoke the next morning, he found that he was no longer a puppet, but a real boy. "How silly and naughty I was when I was a puppet! How glad I am now that I am a well-behaved boy," said Pinocchio. From that day on, Pinocchio and Geppetto worked together and played together. Okay, thank you guys for listening to the story. A little bit longer than usual, but good anyway. Happy 2021 to everybody. Happy New Year, Christmas. And the thing you heard before was the hedgehogs. So, without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Chicos, muchas gracias por escuchar la historia. Un poco más larga de las historias normales que hacemos. La extensión especial porque es justamente 2021, el 2021, el 2021. Y eso que escuchaban antes era el sonido de los erizos que tenemos en la casa, que en otro momento se los presentaré. Así que feliz Navidad, feliz año para todos y nos vemos en el próximo.